Ambassador Zikth adjusted his environmental suit nervously as the diplomatic shuttle approached the human vessel. As a representative of the Veltar collective, he had negotiated with dozens of species across the galaxy, but never with Deathworlders. The very term sent shivers through his crystalline spine. "Approaching Docking Bay 7, announced the pilot, her voice trembling. "By the void, that ship is massive." Zikth peered through the viewport at the human dreadnought Indomitable. Where Veltar ships were elegant curves of biometal that flowed like liquid mercury, this human vessel was all harsh angles and brutal efficiency. Weapons bristled from every surface, and thick armor plating suggested a species that expected violence at every turn. "Remember the briefings," Zikth muttered. "Humans come from a Class 12 death world, gravity 3 times our standard, atmosphere toxic to most civilized species. They are dangerous, but the Galactic Council believes they can be reasoned with." As Zikth stepped aboard the human ship, he was struck by the controlled chaos around him. Humans moved with purpose through corridors designed for beings twice their size. Everything was overbuilt, over-engineered, designed to withstand punishment that would crush most species. "Ambassador Zikth?" A female human approached, and Zikth fought the instinctive urge to flee. She was tall by his standards, with the characteristic dense bone structure of a high-gravity worlder. But her smile seemed genuine, and she moved carefully, as if aware of how intimidating she might appear. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen. Welcome aboard the Indomitable." "Captain," Zikth replied, his translator converting his harmonic speech. "I thank you for agreeing to this meeting. The pleasure's ours. We've been hoping to make contact with more species in this sector." She gestured down the corridor. "Shall we?" "I should warn you, the gravity on this deck is set to human standard." "I will manage," Zikth said, though each step felt like walking through thick gel. As they walked, Captain Chen explained ship features. "This corridor can be sealed in 17 places in case of hull breach. The walls are reinforced titanium steel composite. Emergency oxygen supplies in every section." Each detail reinforced what Zikth had read. Humans built everything as if expecting catastrophic failure. It was the mentality of a species that had clawed its way up from the bottom of a food chain on one of the most hostile worlds in known space. They entered a conference room where several more humans waited. Each bore characteristic scars and calluses, evidence of lives lived in constant struggle against an environment that actively tried to kill them. "Before we begin," Captain Chen said, "I want you to know that we understand your people's concerns about us. We know our reputation precedes us." Zikth's chromatophores flickered with surprise. "You are aware of how you are perceived?" A bearded human chuckled. "Ambassador, we come from a world where the weather can kill you, the plants can kill you, the animals can kill you, and sometimes the ground itself can kill you. We know we seem scary." "Commander Torres is being modest," Captain Chen added. "Earth isn't just hostile, it's aggressively hostile. Our oceans have storms that could flatten cities. Our continents shift and collide. We have seasons where the very air tries to freeze or cook everything alive." "And yet," Zikth said slowly, "you survived. You thrived. You reached the stars." "We did," Captain Chen nodded. "And now we'd like to be part of something bigger than just our own survival." 3 standard cycles later, Zikth found himself escorting a human delegation to Veltar Prime, the heart of his civilization. The collective council had been skeptical, but curiosity had won over caution. The human ship Endeavor was smaller than the Indomitable, classified as diplomatic, but Zikth could see hidden weapon ports and reinforced hull plating. Even their peaceful ships were built for war. "It's beautiful," said Dr. Elena Vasquez, the human xenobiologist, as Veltar Prime came into view. "Like a crystal growing in space." Zikth felt pride surge through him. His homeworld was magnificent, a perfect sphere of interconnected biodomes that sparkled like a jewel against the void. Each dome contained a carefully maintained ecosystem, temperature never varying more than a degree, atmosphere precisely balanced, wildlife gentle and harmonious. Our ancestors shaped this world over thousands of years, Zikth explained. Every environment is perfectly controlled. There are no predators, no dangerous weather, no toxic plants. Pure harmony. Captain Chen studied the approaching planet with professional interest. How do you handle emergencies, natural disasters, system failures? We have extensive redundancies, and our environments are so stable that emergencies are extremely rare. What he didn't mention was how this stability had made his people soft. The Veltar had eliminated every challenge, and in doing so, eliminated the forces that might have made them stronger. As their shuttle descended, the humans pressed against viewports like children. Their faces showed wonder, but Zikth noticed they were cataloging details, defensive positions, structural weaknesses, escape routes. Unconscious behavior from a species that survived by being perpetually ready for the worst. The landing pad was crowded with Veltar citizens who had come to see the legendary Deathworlders. They maintained respectful distance, chromatophores flickering with fear and fascination. "They're so dense," one young Veltar whispered. "Look how they move, like they're carrying invisible weights." In the lighter gravity, the humans moved with controlled power, each step deliberate. They carried themselves like coiled springs, ready for threats that didn't exist on this peaceful world. The formal reception was held in the Crystal Gardens. Elder Queeman, the most senior council member, approached nervously. "Welcome to our world, honored guests." Captain Chen bowed in practiced Veltar style. "Elder Queeman, your world is beyond beautiful. We're honored to be here." "You seem smaller than we expected." Dr. Vasquez laughed, making several Veltar jump. "We're the small ones. You should see our football players." During informal discussions afterward, real connections began forming. Zikth talked with Commander Torres about exploration. "Your people have mapped thousands of systems," Torres said, "but you've only colonized worlds similar to this one." "Why choose hostile environments?" Zikth asked. "Life is difficult enough without adding unnecessary challenges." Torres smiled. "For us, challenges make life worth living. Every hostile world we've settled has taught us something new about survival, adaptation, pushing beyond our limits." "But surely you have lost many people?" "Yes," Torres said quietly, "but those who survive are stronger. They carry knowledge that helps the next group succeed." It was a philosophy that both fascinated and horrified Zikth. Humans actively sought danger, welcomed hardship, used suffering as improvement tools. The antithesis of Veltar civilization. Yet watching the humans interact throughout the evening, Zikth noticed something remarkable. Despite their fearsome reputation, they were unfailingly gentle with his people. They modulated voices, controlled movements, showed infinite patience with obvious nervousness. These legendary Deathworlders were being careful not to frighten anyone. The emergency alert reached Veltar Prime at the worst possible moment. The human delegation was addressing the full collective council when every communication array began screaming warnings. Elder Quimmen's chromatorphage flashed panic white as he received the data stream. "The Zarathi," he whispered, his harmonic voice breaking. "A scouring fleet, heading for the Kepler colonies." The humans didn't understand immediately, but they could read the terror rippling through every Veltar in the chamber. Zikth felt his crystalline structure ringing with fear as he translated. "The Zarathi were thought to be legend," he said. "A species that destroys rather than conquers. They appear every few centuries, destroy entire systems, then vanish back into the void between galaxies." Captain Chen was on her feet immediately. "How long until they reach the colonies?" 17 standard days, Elder Quimmen replied. "But there's nothing we can do. The Zarathi are immune to energy weapons, their ships are larger than our cities, and they've never been defeated." "What about the Galactic Defense Fleet?" Dr. Vasquez asked. Zikth's chromatorphage flickered with bitter amusement. "Doctor, there is no Galactic Defense Fleet. Most species are like us, peaceful, civilized, evolved beyond large-scale warfare. The combined military forces of 50 species couldn't stop a single Zarathi dreadnought. The humans exchanged glances, and Zikth saw something pass between them, silent communication that spoke of shared understanding and sudden decision. "How many people in the Kepler colonies?" Captain Shan asked. 3 billion across 12 worlds, all civilized species. They'll all be slaughtered. Captain Chen activated her communication implant. "Chen to Endeavor. Emergency protocols. I need immediate connection to Earth Command. Tell Admiral Harrison we have a code black situation. Hostile force threatening civilian populations. I'm invoking Article 7 of the Terra Defense Mandate." A holographic projection filled the chamber, a gray-haired human male with scars and eyes like chips of ice. Zikth instinctively recoiled. This was what a Deathworlder warrior looked like when all pretense was stripped away. "Captain Chen, sitrep," Admiral Harrison said without preamble. "Unknown hostile force designated Zarathi approaching Kepler sector. Estimated strength, fleet level. Estimated civilian casualties, 3 billion. Local defense forces, negligible. Zarathi, never heard of them. What's their tactical profile?" Elder Quimmen found his voice. "Admiral, with respect, you don't understand. The Zarathi cannot be fought. They've been destroying civilizations for millennia." Admiral Harrison's gaze shifted to the Elder, and Zikth saw the Veltar leader physically shrink. "Son, I've been fighting things that couldn't be fought since before you were born. Everything can be killed if you hit it hard enough and often enough." "Admiral," Captain Shen said, requesting permission to remain and coordinate with local forces. "Denied. I need you back here for briefing. We're scrambling the 3rd and 7th fleets, full battle load." His expression softened slightly. "Don't worry, Captain. We'll handle this." The connection ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. "You're actually going to fight them?" Zikth said. It wasn't a question. Commander Torres nodded grimly. "It's what we do. Someone threatens innocent people, we stop them." "But you don't even know these species. Why would you risk human lives for strangers?" Captain Shen's answer was simple and devastating. "Because it's the right thing to do." The human fleet that emerged from hyperspace near the Kepler colonies was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen assembled for war. Zif, monitoring from the Indomitable, felt his crystalline structure resonate with pure awe. 237 ships, ranging from nimble destroyers to massive dreadnoughts. But it wasn't their size that impressed him, it was their obvious purpose. Every line, every surface was designed for one thing: inflicting maximum damage on an enemy. Admiral Harrison's voice boomed across all frequencies. "This is Admiral Harrison of the Terran Defense Force. Any Zarathi vessels in this system have 30 minutes to withdraw beyond the heliopause. After that, we will consider you hostile and act accordingly." The response came within minutes, a transmission unlike anything in galactic databases. The Zarathi voice was like metal grinding against stone. "Flesh things from the small world, you do not know us. We are the Zarathi. We are ending. We have scoured 1,000 civilizations from the void. Your ships will burn." Admiral Harrison's response was almost bored. "Yeah, we get that a lot. 28 minutes. The Zarathi fleet began emerging from hyperspace an hour later. Zith had read historical accounts, but seeing them was something else. The ships were vast, not built so much as grown, with surfaces that seemed to shift like living tissue. They moved with the confidence of predators that had never known defeat. "Sensor analysis?" Admiral Harrison requested. "Sir, 47 capital ships, each massing approximately 15 million tons. Hull composition appears to be living metal. Energy signatures are off the charts. Weapons? Unknown configuration, but power output suggests they could crack a planet." Noted. "All ships, this is Harrison. Remember, these things have been bullying civilized species for millennia. They've never faced anyone who fights back properly. Let's teach them some manners." The battle began with the Zarathi advancing in a stately line, confident in their superiority. They never had the chance. The human attack was everything the Zarathi were not: chaotic, unpredictable, brutally effective. While aliens advanced in formation, human ships scattered like wolves, hitting from every angle simultaneously. Destroyer squadrons executed pinpoint hyperspace jumps, appearing behind Zarathi dreadnoughts to unleash concentrated firepower before vanishing. Human battlecruisers used gravity wells to slingshot into impossible attack runs. "How are they moving like that?" Elder Queeman asked from the observation deck. Captain Chen smiled grimly. "We learned to fight in asteroid fields, gas giants, solar flares, environments that would kill most species. Space isn't hostile to us, it's just another battlefield." The Zarathi tried to respond, but they were designed for civilized battles, stately exchanges between ships of the line. They had no experience with enemies that refused to cooperate with their own destruction. 12 human destroyers linked shields and used the combined barrier to ram straight through a Zarathi dreadnought, firing point-blank into its core. "Tactical assessment?" Admiral Harrison requested. "Sir, they're tough, but not invulnerable. Their armor adapts to whatever's hitting it. But if we keep changing attack patterns, they can't adapt fast enough. All ships, execute Pattern Omega." The human fleet began herding the Zarathi ships using superior speed and maneuverability, forcing the alien fleet into increasingly tight formation around the system's largest gas giant. "What are they doing?" Dr. Vasquez asked. Captain Chen smiled sharp. "Something we learned fighting in asteroid fields. When you can't outgun the enemy, you make the environment work for you." The trap was sprung as human vessels emerged from behind the planet's moons, catching Zarathi ships in devastating crossfire. Then the humans did something that defied civilized warfare. They detonated the gas giant's moon. The explosion sent calculated chunks of rock hurtling through space, turning moon fragments into guided missiles that slammed into Zarathi ships with asteroid force. "By the void," Elder Queeman whispered. "They're insane." "No," Ziff said, finally understanding. "They're Deathworlders. This is how they fight, not with honor or rules, but with whatever works." When the last Zarathi ship was destroyed, Admiral Harrison's voice came across all frequencies. "This is Admiral Harrison to any Zarathi forces in neighboring systems. You have 48 hours to withdraw from Galactic Council space. Any Zarathi vessel found after that deadline will be destroyed without warning." Impossibly came a reply in that grinding voice. "We acknowledge. The flesh things fight as we fight. We withdraw." 6 months after the Battle of Kepler, Zeicht stood in the newly constructed council chambers on Terra Station, humanity's first diplomatic facility. The station orbited Earth close enough to show commitment to galactic civilization, far enough that visiting species wouldn't endure the crushing gravity of the human homeworld. The chamber was a marvel of cross-species engineering, accommodating everyone from crystalline Veltar to gaseous Etherians. Variable gravity fields, atmospheric processors, and temporal adjusters created a truly universal space. Representatives from over 200 civilizations had come to witness the formation of what humans called the Galactic Defense Alliance. "The floor recognizes the delegate from the hegemony of Keth," announced Director Sarah Webb. The Catharan delegate rose, his 4 arms gesticulating. "The hegemony wishes to know what guarantees we have that this alliance will not become a tool of human expansion." It was a fair question, raised repeatedly over the past months. Humanity's victory over the Zarathi had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. Some species saw protection from threats they couldn't handle alone. Others saw danger, a new dominant power that might prove as threatening as what it had defeated. Admiral Harrison stood to respond. "Delegate Kethvar, I understand your concerns. Let me be clear, humanity has no interest in ruling the galaxy. We have our hands full managing ourselves." Nervous laughter rippled through the chamber. Since Kepler, humanity had proven remarkably good at keeping their word. They had withdrawn fleets immediately, refused territorial concessions from grateful colonies, and insisted any alliance be based on mutual cooperation rather than human leadership. The Defense Alliance Charter is clear, Director Webb continued. Any member species retains full sovereignty. The alliance exists for one purpose only: mutual defense against external threats that exceed individual capabilities. Elder Quimin rose next. But surely humans understand that their presence changes the galactic balance of power. Your capabilities far exceed most member species. Admiral Chen nodded, which is why we've proposed the compensation protocols. The protocols were humanity's most innovative diplomatic contribution. Recognizing their military capabilities gave disproportionate influence, humans volunteered to balance this through other means. For every human military vessel assigned to alliance duty, Admiral Chen explained, Terra commits to providing non-military assistance. Medical aid, engineering support, scientific research, technological exchange. Dr. Vasquez activated a display showing human aid missions. In 6 months, human medical teams have helped establish hospitals on 17 worlds. Our engineers improved infrastructure on 43 colonies. Our scientists collaborate on research with 62 different species. Humans are also proposing unprecedented technology sharing, Elder Quimin continued. This had been the most controversial aspect. Most species guarded technological advances jealously. Humans proposed radical collaboration on military and defensive technologies. Every species has evolved different solutions, Admiral Harrison explained. Veltar bioengineering is centuries ahead of ours. Asari energy manipulation could revolutionize our shields. Trindalian sensors surpass our best arrays. But why share such advantages? Asked the Trindalian delegate suspiciously. Because, Admiral Chen said simply, a threat that can defeat all of us individually might not defeat all of us working together. The turning point came when a new voice entered the discussion, one that chilled every delegate. The small flesh things speak wisdom. The grinding Zarathi harmonics silenced the chamber. We withdraw to the void between galaxies, as agreed. But we watch. We listen. Others come behind us, threats greater than we. The alliance flesh things build. It may be needed. Director Webb recovered first. Well, I think that settles the question of whether we need a defensive alliance. The vote was unanimous. As delegates dispersed for formal ratification, Zeicht found himself alone with Admiral Chen. You knew, didn't you, about other threats? Admiral Chen nodded slowly. Our deep space sensors have been detecting anomalies, signatures that don't match any known species. Whatever's out there is big, organized, and heading this way. How long? Best estimate? Maybe 5 years. 10 if we're lucky. Zeicht felt familiar fear, but accompanied by something new. Determination. Then we had better get to work. Admiral Chen smiled. Ambassador, I think this is the beginning of something remarkable. 3 years into the alliance, Zeicht barely recognized the galaxy he had once known. From his position aboard the joint species flagship Unity, he watched the largest military exercise in galactic history unfold across the neutral zone. Ships from 70 different species moved in coordinated formations that would have been impossible before human tactical doctrine revolutionized fleet operations. Veltar bioships flowed like liquid mercury between angular human dreadnoughts, while Asari energy dancers provided shield support for Trindalian sensor platforms. Exercise parameters complete, announced the fleet coordinator. All units return to staging areas for debriefing. Admiral Chen, now commanding the integrated fleet, nodded with satisfaction. Much better. We're actually starting to look like a unified force instead of individual fleets trying not to bump into each other. The transformation had been remarkable. At first, various species approached joint operations with their own tactical traditions. Human military doctrine had changed everything, pragmatic rather than traditional, analyzing each species' strengths and developing tactics that maximized advantages while covering vulnerabilities. Admiral, came a voice from communications, priority transmission from the Deep Space Early Warning Network. The DSCWN was one of humanity's most significant contributions to galactic security, a network of sensor platforms scattered throughout the galaxy's edge designed to provide advance warning of external threats. Staffed jointly by all Alliance members, but using distinctly human technology, paranoid, redundant, designed to detect anything that didn't belong. "Put it through," Admiral Chen ordered. The display filled with Commander Reyes, a scarred human woman stationed at monitoring post Omega-7. "Admiral, we've got movement in the void. Multiple contacts, massive signatures, approaching from the direction of the Magellanic Clouds." Zikth felt his chromatophores go pale. The Magellanic Clouds were satellite galaxies, hundreds of thousands of light-years away. Anything approaching from that direction was truly alien from outside their galaxy entirely. "Tactical assessment?" Admiral Chen asked steadily. "Ma'am, we're looking at a fleet that makes the Zarathi look like patrol boats. Minimum count is 300 capital ships, each massing over 50 million tons. But Admiral, the signatures aren't matching anything in our databases. These aren't ships as we understand them. Explain." "The energy patterns suggest they're partially biological, partially mechanical, and partially something else entirely. Our analysis suggests they're machines that have been evolved, artificially selected for maximum efficiency over millions of years." Dr. Vasquez leaned forward. "Commander, are you saying these are self-modifying artificial intelligences?" "More than that, Doctor. Our scans suggest they're not just artificial intelligences, they're artificial ecologies. Each ship appears to contain multiple AI entities in symbiotic relationship." Zikth shuddered. If these entities had been evolving for millions of years, they would represent technology beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Time to arrival?" Admiral Chen asked. "At current velocity, approximately 18 months to reach the galactic edge, 2 years to the first inhabited systems." The bridge fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. "Admiral," came another voice, the grinding Zarathi harmonics. "We monitored your transmissions. The devourers come. We fled them across 7 galaxies. They consume civilizations, convert matter to computation, transform life into process. They cannot be reasoned with. They will not stop. But they can be fought?" There was a pause. "We never learned how. But the flesh things from the small world, they fight differently. They may find a way." "Any tactical information?" "The devourers adapt quickly, but they follow patterns. They seek to understand before they destroy. They will study your defenses, analyze your tactics, then counter them perfectly. But," another pause, "they have never faced chaos. They have never faced unpredictability." The communication ended. "All fleet commanders to Conference Room 7, Admiral Chen announced. "Emergency strategic planning session. We have 18 months to prepare for something that's been perfecting itself for millions of years." As staff dispersed, Zikth remained staring at the display showing the approaching threat. "Frightening prospect," Admiral Chen said, joining him. "Admiral, are we even capable of fighting something like this?" Admiral Chen was quiet for a moment. "Ambassador, let me tell you something about humans. We've learned that the greatest threats often come from things we can't imagine. The devourers have been optimizing themselves for millions of years, but for defeating civilizations like the ones they've already encountered. They've never faced a species that thrives on chaos, that turns disadvantages into advantages, that fights with creativity instead of perfection. You're saying their perfection might be a weakness?" Admiral Chen smiled. "I'm saying they're about to learn why the galaxy was afraid of Deathworlders long before they were afraid of ancient machine gods." The Battle of the Galactic Core began not with weapons fire, but with something the Devourers had never encountered in millions of years: surrender. "This is Admiral Chen of the Galactic Defense Alliance," came the transmission as the massive Devourer fleet approached. "We recognize your technological superiority. We offer unconditional surrender and request terms for preservation of our civilian populations." Aboard the command ship Unity, Zeicht watched with barely controlled terror. Everything depended on the next few minutes. If the Devourers simply began attacking without responding, the most desperate gambit in galactic history would fail. The reply came in harmonics that hurt to hear, not quite mechanical, not quite organic. Query: species designation requests clarification of preservation parameters. Admiral Chen let out a held breath. The Devourers were responding, following their pattern: analyze, understand, then destroy efficiently. "We request preservation of genetic samples from all species for your archives. We also request that civilian populations be processed humanely rather than subjected to prolonged suffering." Analysis: request parameters acceptable. Designate representatives for negotiation protocols. I will serve as primary representative. However, our cultures require negotiations be conducted in neutral space, away from civilian populations. I'm transmitting coordinates now. The coordinates led to an empty system, empty except for the largest concentration of military hardware in galactic history. Hidden behind sensor dampening fields, the entire combined Alliance fleet waited in perfect ambush positions. Acceptable. Delegation vessel will arrive in 7 standard time units. As the transmission ended, Admiral Chen addressed the command staff. "Remember, we get one shot. The moment they realize what we're doing, they'll adapt and we'll never fool them again." The plan was insane by any rational standard. Instead of matching the Devourers' technological superiority, humanity had proposed deception on a galactic scale. The negotiation was theater of the highest order. Admiral Chen played her role perfectly, a desperate leader buying time, gradually revealing false information about Alliance capabilities and dispositions. The Devourer representative was a shifting matrix of light and thought that spoke directly to the brain. "Your species displays unexpected tactical creativity," it said. "Analysis suggests significant deviation from standard biological warfare patterns." "We've had to adapt," Admiral Chen replied with resignation. "Our worlds are harsh. Our enemies have always been stronger. We've learned to survive through cunning rather than strength." Over 3 hours, Admiral Chen systematically fed the Devourer false information, portraying humans as clever but cowardly, Veltar as completely pacifistic, other Alliance species as reluctant participants, held together only by fear. All lies, but crafted to form a coherent picture in the Devourer's analytical matrix. Negotiation concluded. Processing will begin in 72 standard time units. Resistance is futile, but will be accommodated within acceptable parameters. 72 hours later, the Devourer fleet arrived at the Alliance's primary defensive position, a carefully prepared killing ground. They engaged the primary force exactly as Admiral Chen had described: conventional formation protecting inhabited worlds. It was exactly what the Devourers expected, and exactly what they had determined was optimal to defeat. They never saw the real attack coming. As the Devourer fleet engaged the decoy force, 10,000 Alliance ships emerged from hyperspace in perfect coordination, not from the inhabited worlds, but from every direction at once. "All ships, execute Pattern Omega-7, Admiral Harrison commanded. The Devourers adapted quickly, but as their formations shifted, the defensive fleet abandoned the worlds they were supposedly protecting and joined the attack from behind. The Devourers found themselves in a perfect sphere of crossfire. But humans weren't finished. Every civilian ship in the Alliance, transports, cargo haulers, personal vessels, emerged from hiding, hastily fitted with weapons and crewed by volunteers.
The devourers' analytical matrix couldn't process it. They had never encountered a species that turned their entire civilization into a weapon. Anomaly detected. Biological entities displaying irrational tactical preferences, updating behavioral models. But every time they adapted, humans changed tactics. Ships rammed enemy vessels. Damaged craft activated self-destruct sequences. Medical ships revealed hidden weapons.
When the last Devourer vessel was destroyed, a final transmission reached the fleet. Impossible! Chaos cannot defeat order. Randomness cannot defeat perfection. Admiral Chen's reply was broadcast galaxy-wide. You're right. Chaos can't defeat order. But we're not chaos. We're something you've never encountered. We're Deathworlders who learn to work together. As rescue ships searched for survivors, Zikth found himself beside Admiral Chen. "It's over," he said, hardly believing it. "This threat is over," Admiral Chen corrected. "But there will be others." "And we'll be ready?" Admiral Chen smiled. "Ambassador, Deathworlders don't just survive hostile environments. We make them less hostile for everyone else." Reports came in from across the galaxy, neutral species requesting alliance membership, ancient enemies joining the coalition that had saved them all. "So what happens now?" Zikth asked. Admiral Chen gestured toward ships from hundreds of species working together. "Now we build something better. Together." In the distance, Earth hung in space, no longer just a death world at civilization's edge, but the heart of an alliance spanning the galaxy. The Deathworlders had come home, and they had brought hope with them.